Whenever I travel, I always ask myself one question. Will this trip leave me with memories I'll cherish forever? That's why I make it a point to do something unique on every journey, something others might not think of doing. It might seem a bit unconventional at times, but I believe those little adventures are what create truly special memories. About 20 years ago, I joined a group tour to Venice. The guide introduced us to Cafe Floriana, located in Piazza San Marco, describing it as the famous cafe where Casanova once charmed women. The guide encouraged us to have a cup of coffee there, saying it was an experience not to be missed. There were plenty of similar-looking cafes surrounding Florian, but its prices were significantly higher, easily several times more expensive. Most of the other tourists in my group balked at the cost. Some took a few photos outside, others opted for cheaper cafes nearby, or simply spent time wandering the square. But I had a different thought. I want to make this place a memory I'll never forget. I told myself, if I have a cup of coffee at the same cafe where Casanova once charmed women, wouldn't that be a memory worth keeping forever? It was a choice that could turn into an unforgettable story, or just a fleeting moment quickly forgotten. I didn't know which it would be, but I decided to take a chance. I turned to my sister and nephew who were traveling with me and said, "Let's just have a cup of coffee here. It feels like such a waste to just take pictures and leave. Who knows, this might turn into a memory we talk about for years to come." And so the three of us walked into the famous and infamously expensive Cafe Floriana. The interior of the cafe was stunning. I don't remember every detail now, but the elegant decor and soft classical music made it feel like we had stepped into a scene from a movie. We chose a window seat with a view of the square and waited for someone to take our order. The waiter clearly saw us, but didn't come over for a long time. The cafe wasn't even busy, hardly anyone else was there, likely because of the high prices, but somehow it felt like we were being deliberately ignored. For a moment I wondered, is it because we're Asian? Still, I didn't want to ruin the moment by getting upset or leaving. I turned to my sister and said, "It's fine, who cares if they don't come? We can save money on coffee this way. Just sitting here and soaking in the atmosphere is enough. Besides, even not getting served could become part of the story we tell later, don't you think?" And so the three of us sat there, chatting and laughing, completely ignoring the fact that we hadn't been served yet. Eventually, as if realizing we weren't going to leave anytime soon, the waiter finally brought over a menu and asked, "What would you like to order?" as if nothing had happened. I opened the menu leisurely, pretending to be completely unfazed, but my jaw almost dropped when I saw the prices. The drinks were outrageously expensive, several times more than at any other cafe nearby. At that moment, I finally understood why no one else was coming in, but I kept my cool, scanned the menu, and ordered the cheapest item, an espresso. Yes, 3 people, and we ordered just 1 espresso. Thinking back now, it's a bit embarrassing, especially in today's world where ordering 1 item per person is standard. But back then, the prices shocked me so much that I simply ordered without thinking. The truth is, I didn't even know what espresso really was at the time. I assumed it was just another type of black coffee, probably served in a decent-sized cup, like an Americano. But when the waiter brought it to our table, I couldn't help but laugh. It was tiny. We stared at the tiny cup sitting in the middle of our table, then burst out laughing. "Is this really coffee? Is this all we get?" we joked. But as we laughed, I thought to myself, maybe this is just the charm of having espresso at Cafe Florian. Later, I learned that espresso is supposed to be served in such a small quantity. But at the moment, we didn't know any better. We took turns sipping from that little cup, each savoring a small taste. That was the first espresso I'd ever had in my life, and to this day I still think it's the best coffee I've ever tasted. Of course, whether it was truly the best coffee or not, I can't say. Maybe it was the atmosphere. Maybe it was the high price tag making it seem more special. But what mattered wasn't the coffee itself, it was that moment. The 3 of us sitting around the table, laughing and talking over a tiny cup of espresso. That waiter, that cafe, and that moment are still crystal clear in my memory, even 20 years later. That cup of coffee at Cafe Florian became the highlight of my trip. If I'd said, "It's too expensive, let's not bother," I wouldn't have this story to tell. I truly believe that sometimes the best memories come from choices that don't make sense, choices that feel extravagant or even a little foolish in the moment. Some people might say that spending so much on a cup of coffee is ridiculous, but for me, it's a memory I'll treasure forever. Because in the end, the most important part of any trip isn't the photos you take or the money you spend, it's how you make each moment special. If I ever get the chance to visit Venice again, I'll return to Cafe Florian, sit by the window and look out at Piazza San Marco, ready to create another unforgettable memory. And this time, I'll make sure to order 1 cup for each of us. But I do wonder, will the espresso taste as good as it did back then?